Adelaide's 7 News Early Edition with Mike Smithson starts now.
Hello and welcome to the 7 News Early Edition. 2 northern suburbs men will face court today accused of starting a terrifying grass fire at Penfield, which destroyed property and sent 4 people to hospital with smoke inhalation. Police say the blaze was sparked by a angle grinder and spread so fast many locals were forced to flee their homes. 2 31-year-old men, one from Penfield and the other from Waterloo Corner, were arrested at the scene and they spent the weekend in custody awaiting their court appearance. Police are investigating a nasty crash between a car and a truck on the Air Highway near the Nullarbor Roadhouse. A man and woman, both from WA, have been flown to Adelaide with non-life-threatening injuries. The truck driver, a man in his 30s, wasn't hurt and is assisting police with inquiries. More than a dozen shark sightings off a popular South Australian beach have surprised even the experts. They were spotted close to shore off Aldinga, but as Hayden Nelson reports, it's put swimmers everywhere on edge.
14 sharks were spotted at beaches in Adelaide over the weekend. Concerning and unusual, according to authorities. Concerning, they say, because it's so early in the beach-going season for swimmers and surfers. Unusual, they say, because it's rare to see these sharks travelling together in groups. On Saturday, 6 sharks were spotted in a stretch of beach in Aldinga and Silver Sands, prompting an evacuation. 3 of those were great whites of at least 3 metres in length. 3 of those were bronze whale as well. Yesterday, the similar area, the Westpac rescue helicopter spotted 8 sharks, 3 of them great whites, 5 of them bronze whalers. The helicopter was able to successfully sweep the predators back out to sea, but not before they came within 50 to 150 metres of the shoreline. This is particularly disturbing after in South Australia after 4 fatal shark attacks in over a year, disproportionately higher than the rest of the country and the rest of the world. Also worrying for authorities, they say, because this behaviour is particularly unusual because it's so early in the season, and they say it's rare to see the sharks travelling like this in groups.
The stress and strain is showing for Year 12 students across the state, with the first SACE exams getting underway. Madison Stanley joins us live from Adelaide High, where, Maddie, some students have just walked out from their first one.
They have, Mike, and it's been a gruelling couple of hours. Math method students were the first ones put to the test today, sitting one of the most complex subjects of Year 12. There were quite a few nerves as they were entering the hall. General math students are next in line this afternoon. Over the next 10 days, more than 12,500 students will do exams at more than 200 sites across the state.
I'm pretty nervous. I've got history first, which I'm probably most comfortable with, so it's looking good to start, but next week is a bit more nerve-wracking. I've got English, which is a bit scary.
I think they're all pretty keen and excited to get these exams underway and over with.
So a stressful time for students and their parents over the next couple of weeks. Then comes the waiting, but they should get all their results on December the 16th. Mike?
Thanks, Maddie Stanley, live there from Adelaide High. Well, we're just days away from one of the most monumental elections America has ever seen. Donald Trump's latest comments have raised more concerns, telling a crowd today he wouldn't mind if journalists were shot at. Tim Lester's on the campaign trail.
Donald Trump made his way here to small town Kinston in central North Carolina today for one of his many pre-election rallies. As he came, new polling in the rural state of Iowa suggests his grip on rural and small town America may not be as strong as many had thought. It shows in a state where he held a commanding lead just several months ago, Kamala Harris now leads by the narrowest of margins.
They just announced a fake poll. Hey, think of it. Right before the election, that I'm 3 points down. I'm not down in Iowa.
Not even Democrats believe they're about to win Iowa, but they do say this could be a sign that some of the 5% or so of the American electorate who hadn't decided up until recently may have moved firmly towards Kamala Harris, and that might affect the vote in some of the real battleground states nearby. This as Donald Trump ramped up his violence rhetoric at a campaign rally earlier in Pennsylvania.
I have a piece of glass over here, and I have this piece of glass here. But all we have really over here is the fake news, right? To get me, somebody would have to shoot through the fake news. And I don't mind that so much.
The Trump message growing darker the closer he gets to Election Day, a contrast to the Democrat Kamala Harris, who's been campaigning today in Michigan.
I am feeling great. I am looking forward to these next 48 hours to continue to talk with the voters. So my ballot is on its way to California, and I'm going to trust the system that it will arrive there.
Most major polls have the two candidates way too close to make any confident predictions about the outcome of the election. Already, more than 74 million Americans have voted out of a likely total of 150 to 160 million.
The search has resumed today for a child swept out to sea on the New South Wales Central Coast. As Annie Puller reports, the 11-year-old boy was with his father and siblings trying to walk across a dangerous channel connecting a lake to the ocean.
Well, the father and his 4 young boys had travelled here from Western Sydney for a fishing day trip, which turned tragic in a matter of seconds. Just 15 minutes after the flags were taken down here at this patrolled beach, police say a 43-year-old father attempted to cross a notoriously dangerous channel with his 4 boys aged between 3 and 11 years old. Now, 7 News has been told the father was carrying 2 of his children, but the 11-year-old boy was following behind when he was swept out to sea by a strong current. Bystanders witnessed this tragedy unfold, many racing to the water, helping to pull his siblings to safety as the father dived into the ocean, swimming after his 11-year-old, but sadly he couldn't reach him. A very large search and rescue operation was immediately initiated but suspended through the night. The boy's father has spent the night here alongside many other relatives who haven't stopped searching for the 11-year-old.
I heard him screaming on the beach, and my heart broke, I have no words for it, I have kids of my own, and I couldn't comprehend losing someone like that.
A multi-agency land, air and sea search is underway this morning, and while there have been no sightings of the little boy since late yesterday, police here are certainly not losing hope, saying they'll do whatever it takes to help this family.
The inquest into the disappearance of toddler William Tyrrell resumes today. The little boy in the Spider-Man suit vanished from his home on the New South Wales mid-north coast in September 2014. It's thought the inquest at the coroner's court will examine a police theory that William died in an accidental fall. The entire length of Glenelg's Jetty Road is now a permanent dry zone. Complaints from residents and local traders about antisocial behaviour forced authorities to act.
Yeah, there's too much riffraff down here now that cause trouble during the day.
There's been times that we've been sitting around and felt a bit unsafe, so we've got up and just moved on.
In the past, restrictions were only enforced during New Year's Eve. Anyone caught with alcohol could cop a fine of $1,250. Anthony Albanese has made the first big pitch to Australians ahead of next year's federal election with promises on education and cutting student debt. As Paul Kadak explains, a new poll shows both sides have work to do to win over voters.
After the Prime Minister's campaign-style event in Adelaide yesterday, promising, if re-elected, to cut student debt by 20% and offering more fee-free TAFE places, that hard sell has continued this morning. As a new poll shows, Anthony Albanese 4 points ahead of Peter Dutton on who'd make a better PM, but that both have seen a fall in their standing among voters. Asked to describe the PM, words most commonly used were weak, leader, incompetent and useless. For the opposition leader, most used were strong, arrogant, leader, untrustworthy.
I don't think arrogant, untrustworthy and bad is something that Peter Dutton would be very happy with either.
What do you want in your leader? What do you want in your Prime Minister? If you look at sort of a quasi, almost like father figure in the family, do you want the person to be weak or strong?
With Parliament back this week, cost of living is also back in focus. The government says new figures shows its boost to bulk billing is working. Medicare stats revealing there's been more than 5 million extra bulk billed visits to the GP over the last year, while the Coalition is pushing its plan for a compulsory code of conduct for supermarkets to punish any price gouging, allowing farmers to make confidential complaints and the consumer watchdog to hit retailers with $2 million fines. And as our politicians have flown their way back to Canberra, more scrutiny on flight upgrades is expected, including questions in Parliament later today.
Head on 7 News, pharmacy boost, fourth 24-hour store promise for southern suburbs residents. Plus, the King of Spain under fire as flood-affected locals claim they've been abandoned. And whoopsie, Coldplay's frontman suffers a concert mishap mid-show. As the battle for the black by-election heats up, the state government's announced plans for a new 24/7 pharmacy in the electorate. It'll be somewhere around Hallett Cove and follows the opening of around-the-clock chemists in Norwood, Clovelly Park and Salisbury earlier this year. The government says it's already been accessed by nearly 120,000 people.
This policy is working, and when we see something working, we want to invest in it and extend its availability to yet more South Australians, and now we're going to do it in the Hallett Cove area.
Pharmacies in the area can now put in a bid to be selected, and it's hoped it'll be open by next year. Angry crowds have hurled mud and insults at the King of Spain as he visited one of the worst-hit towns devastated by the floods in Valencia. Locals claim they've been abandoned by authorities, as Ben Downey reports.
This is an outburst that felt inevitable. One of the unifying sentiments inside the flood zone is one of anger as well as abandonment at authorities. King Felipe came to express sympathy and was met by an angry mob shouting murderer, shame and get out as he arrived nearly a week after the floods. Queen Letizia left by Porter crying and in shock with mud on her face. It's the town most devastated by the disaster Spain's Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez describes as the European continent's worst flood in a century. He was also chased out of the town with residents hurling mud and debris at his convoy. Most residents didn't receive alerts until hours after floodwaters had destroyed their homes and killed their loved ones. Much of the anger is also directed at Valencian President Carlos Mazón after he posed for tourism photo ops instead of chairing disaster meetings and issuing alerts the day of the disaster. With the death toll now passing 200 people, anger is also being fueled by the fact it's volunteers, not the military or authorities, leading the recovery response.
In Serbia, hundreds have marched through Belgrade demanding the arrest of government officials following a railway station accident that killed more than a dozen people. 14 people died on Friday when a concrete canopy that ran along the front of the station collapsed. The protesters have blamed the government for the tragedy, accusing it of negligence and corruption. The train station had been renovated twice in recent years. On the day before the Reserve Bank meets to discuss interest rates, Westpac has unveiled its full-year net profit, which is down on last year. Amelia Brace has more.
Westpac's full-year profit is slightly below analyst expectations, falling by 3% to $7 billion. The slide in profits is due to a competitive mortgage market, with borrowers shopping around for a better deal, putting pressure on its margins. Westpac CEO Peter King said while net loans and deposits grew, revenue was down 6% in 2024, quote, reflecting intense mortgage competition. The outgoing chief executive acknowledged some customers are struggling, with more than 47,000 seeking hardship arrangements to help pay their mortgages, most needing that help for about 3 months. Despite that, he said the economy was showing positive signs.
We've seen consumer sentiment has increased in the last survey. We've seen inflation on a headline basis in the band, on an underlying basis heading towards the RBA's band.
And Peter King was asked about any movement from from the Reserve Bank when it meets tomorrow. Unfortunately, as far as Westpac is concerned, there will be no rate cuts until next year.
Check this out. Shock rippled through the crowd at Coldplay's concert in Melbourne last night when frontman Chris Martin suddenly fell into a hole in the stage. It happened at Marvel Stadium during their fourth and final show. It comes just 3 weeks after singer Olivia Rodrigo's onstage mishap at Rod Laver Arena. Still to come on 7 News Sport with Tom Wilson. As the build-up continues to tomorrow's Melbourne Cup, we catch up with one of the hopeful owners. And Aussie Ange gets Tottenham back to winning ways in the Premier League.
Melbourne Cup contender Vauban is eyeing redemption after falling well short as the favourite at Flemington last year. UK owner Patrick Boyle believes his star gelding, One Smooth Operator, is a chance after storming to victory in the Geelong Cup.
We've had a great time. We came here with no expectations. Really just wanted to get in the race if we could. We're in the race, we've got a fighting chance.
Champion trainer Chris Waller has 5 runners in the race, including hot contender Buckaroo. After winning the Victoria Derby, SA jockey Jamie Carr's riding Okita Sushi, while Murray Bridge trainers Dan Clark and Upi McGilvray have South Australia's first horse in the race since 2009 with the Map. Well, South Australia needs 9 more wickets on the final day of its Sheffield Shield clash against Victoria at Adelaide Oval, chasing 346 for victory. The Vics are 1 for 45 late in the first session. Tottenham's back to winning ways in the Premier League after coming from behind to beat top 4 contenders Aston Villa. Trailing at half-time, Ange Postecoglou's Spurs fired in 4 second-half strikes to seal a 4-1 win.
Maddison going quickly. Oh! The seal set on an impressive victory.
In its first league game since the sacking of Erik ten Hag, Manchester United was held to a 1-1 draw with Chelsea. An all-time great racing fight back has Max Verstappen on the brink of a 4th world title. Dangerously wet weather conditions in Sao Paulo had drivers slipping off the track and crashing throughout the Brazilian Grand Prix. Starting in 17th, Verstappen fought through numerous safety cars to finish on top.
Unbelievable to win here from so far back on the grid. We stayed out of trouble, we made the right calls, we stayed calm, and we were flying.
From pole, Lando Norris dropped to 6th. He trails Verstappen by 62 points with 3 races to go. Aussie Oscar Piastri struggled in 8th. And in the penultimate race of the MotoGP season, Aussie Jack Miller suffered a nasty crash on the opening lap in Malaysia.
Seizes the inside line. Oh no, there's damage further back. Big crash further back in a real first corner melee here.
Despite appearing to hit his head on another rider's tyre, Miller escaped serious injury. Francesco Bagnaia triumphed to keep his title hopes alive. He trails leader Jorge Martin by 24 points heading into the final round. That's our Sportsman, though.
Good on you, Tom. Thanks for that. Still to come on 7 News. There could be some showers heading our way. I'll have your local forecast next.
Defying gravity with the entire cast of Wicked. The stars of the year's biggest movie are in Australia and on Sunrise. Plus, the most important election of our lifetime. Join Natalie Barr live on the ground at the White House for this historic moment in history. Start with Sunrise.
Video has been released of one of China's giant pandas soon to call Adelaide home. Xingqi Yao, who'll arrive later this year, was captured on China's central television enjoying a bamboo snack. He'll be accompanied by Elon, a 3-year-old female. Our outgoing pandas, Wang Wang and Funi, are still in quarantine at Adelaide Zoo ahead of their return trip home to China, and there's still time to catch them before they leave. Taking a look at the weather now, the cloud cover will clear later today. It'll reach a top of 23 degrees. Around the state, 37 in Cooperpedia, sunny 26 in Ceduna, sunny and 29 in Port Augusta, 27 in Port Pirie, 28 in the Riverland, 21 in Victor and 19 in Mount Gambier. A strong wind warning's been issued for the far west coast around the country today. 20 degrees in Melbourne, 22 in Sydney, partly cloudy in Brisbane, Cloudy in Perth. Back home, we've got some showers in store tomorrow. It'll reach a warm top of 31 degrees in the city, 27 on Wednesday, 24 Thursday, and 22 Friday, then 23 on Saturday, mostly sunny, and 24 on Sunday. And that's all from 7 Adelaide's early edition. Rosanna and Will here at 6. I'll see you at 4 o'clock. From me, bye for now.
The 7 News app will give you the news you want every minute of every day, including breaking news alerts. Download the 7 News app now.